12 of the fantasy football season, and here's the top 15 quarterbacks I'm ranking this week. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. I know Mahomes last week, it was a bad game for him and the Chiefs overall, especially in the second half, not scoring any points in that one. But Valdez-Scantling did drop that touchdown at the end of the game that would have gave him the lead with about a minute and a half left. This is a great matchup with the Vegas Raiders, and we know throughout Patrick Mahomes' career, he's dominated this Raider defense, and also after a bad loss, he's come back with a vengeance and have a big game. So this week, I think he bounces back and has a breakout performance. Number 2, Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. So this Bill offense, they ran well versus the New York Jet defense in last week's game with new offensive coordinator over there in Buffalo, and he was stretching the field. He was making smarter decisions, is Josh Allen, and even some design runs for safer runs they designed for Allen in that game. So this week here, tough matchup at Philadelphia in terms of their front line, but the secondary, they give up a lot of deep balls. They give up a lot of passing yards, and this one could be a potential shootout, obviously, between Philly and Buffalo. So this week, I think Allen goes out there and has a nice game. Number 3, staying in the same game, Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. So Jalen Hurts, we know he's a great quarterback. He does everything, run the football, obviously big passing games, and he's just a smart quarterback as well. Even in a bad game in Week 11 versus at the Kansas City Chiefs, he still went out there and put up 19 fantasy points. So this week here versus a banged-up Bills secondary and defense overall with Matt Milano out for the season, Dequan Jones, Tre'Davious White, I think Jalen Hurts could go out there and bounce back. A.J. Brown, he had a bad performance where I think he bounces back as well. And this is going to be a potential shootout between Philly and Buffalo. And both quarterbacks in this game, I believe, go off. Number 4, Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. So Lamar, he's going to be out Andrews for the whole season now with the ankle and the injury. That Week 11 game on Thursday night versus Cincinnati Bengals. But this week here, great matchup with the Los Angeles Chargers that obviously can't stop anyone, even with limited weapons. With Andrews out and possibly Odell Beckham, I think Lamar Jackson's going to find ways to put points on the board. Obviously, he's the best rushing quarterback, and that he gets 5-6 points minimum per week running the football. And this week here with a great matchup at the Chargers, where it's going to be a high-flying game, I believe. I think Lamar, even with the limited weapons, puts in a big game. Number 5, Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. Over the last month of the season, Dak Prescott's gone out there and put in big performances, and he's confident right now, throwing the football great. CeeDee Lamb, he's broken out to a number 1 wide receiver this season, an elite wide receiver, and that obviously helps any quarterback. If you could get a wide receiver getting it going like CeeDee Lamb has, and then Jake Ferguson catching the football well, and even Brandon Cooks has been a part of the offense over the last few weeks. So this week here with a great matchup versus the Commanders that give up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season, and we just saw Tommy DeVito throw for 3 touchdowns versus them. I think Dak Prescott, Thanksgiving for this Dallas Cowboy team, once again goes out there and has a nice performance. Number 6, C.J. Stroud of the Houston Texans. So C.J. Stroud, he's taken the league by storm, and he's playing great football. I know last week he did throw the 3 interceptions, but obviously C.J. Stroud, that's uncharacteristic of Stroud so far in his rookie season. We're going into that game, he only had 2 interceptions. So right now, I know he's versing a ball-hawking defense that creates a lot of turnovers with the Jaguars. Got a Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and Dalton Schultz playing at a high level in the passing game, and C.J. Stroud putting up a lot of yards this season. I think this could be a potential shootout between 2 division rivals. Houston at home, once again, indoor game, which is always a plus. And this week, I think C.J. Stroud goes out there and has a good game and limits the turnovers. Number 7, Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. So Justin Herbert, he's playing great football all season. He's only had 2 bad games. He's been keeping this Charger team into the games because their defense hasn't made stops. This week, another tough matchup for their defense versus Baltimore offense, where Herbert's going to have to go out there, throw the football 35-40 times, and this could be a potential shootout on Sunday Night Football. So right now, even with limited weapons, besides Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler out of the backfield, it's been a lot of young players and non-experienced players in the lineup here for Justin Herbert, but he's still making it work. And we know every year he's amongst the league leaders in passing yards. So this week here, Sunday Night Football, must-win game for this Charger team. I think Herbert goes out there and has a good performance. Number 8, Tua of the Miami Dolphins. So Tua, we know he's having a great season. MVP candidate, no doubt about it. Him and Tyreek Hill playing on another level. But this week, a tough matchup at the New York Jets, where their secondary, I know, just got torched, obviously, by the Buffalo Bills. But their defense has been great all season, holding good quarterbacks down. And this week here, I think this Jet defense, Black Friday, finally getting Zach Wilson out of this starting lineup. And maybe Tim Boyle could at least show something for this Jet team, for their defense to get up and play in this game. So right now, Black Friday game, Jets back at home. Tua's been great, no doubt about it, but with a tough matchup here, I think this Jet team limits Tua a little bit, and I got him at 8. Number 9, Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions. So a Thanksgiving game for Goff and the Lions, obviously, like every season, isn't a tradition. So this week, Green Bay Packers coming to town on Thanksgiving. Division matchup, potential shootout. Last week, they were down 10 points with 4 minutes left. Was this Detroit Lion team versus the Bears, but Goff led this offense down the field twice, and they won the ball game. So right now, when you got great weapons like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams got a nice deep ball for a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, who's a great receiving back out of the backfield. There's a lot of weapons. This is a good matchup. I know Green Bay's defense is a bend but don't break unit for the most part, but I think Jared Goff this week overcomes that a little bit, and he still puts up his numbers. Number 10, Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears. So Justin Fields last week, it was about running the football and making plays with his legs at the Lions, where he had 104 rush yards on 10 carries. So this week here, good matchup once again, Monday Night Football at the Minnesota Vikings. Their defense isn't all that great, and Justin Fields, we know he's a playmaker, and he's got good weapons on the offense. You got DJ Moore, got Cole Kmet, Khalil Herbert. He can make things happen a little bit out of the backfield catching the football, and also Darnell Mooney as a deep ball threat. So right now, I know Fields, he didn't look 100% healthy, and that thumb was still wrapped, but he made plays with his legs, and that's what he brings for fantasy owners. A guy, a dual threat who could throw the football and run it as well. Number 11, Kyler Murray, another dual threat of the Arizona Cardinals. So Kyler Murray, he's been playing good since he's been back for the most part. I know the weapons aren't all that great. Hollywood Brown, he's been up and down so far this season, and since Murray returned, you got Michael Wilson, who missed last week's game, and Rondale Moore, who had a nice 40-plus yard touchdown in last week's game, and the breakout tight end Trey McBride. So some good weapons over there. Potential shootout between these two division rivals in the NFC West with the Los Angeles Rams. It's a home game, which obviously Kyler Murray throughout his career has been way better at home than he's been on the road. So this week, I think once again, he's a solid quarterback. Number 12, Brock Purdy of the San Francisco 49ers. So Brock Purdy, he's been playing great over the last 2 weeks. And this Niner team, it's been a weird season, starting 5-0, losing 3 in a row to mediocre teams, and then coming out the last 2 and blowing the doors off versus at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then versus the Tampa Bay Bucks in last week's game. So this week here, tougher test. 12th man going to Seattle. Thanksgiving night game, that's always a tough environment. But Brock Purdy's got great weapons. Brandon Ayuk, breakout season. George Kittle, he's been a top tight end once again this season with some monster performances. And Deebo Samuel back in the lineup as well. And obviously McCaffrey out of the backfield. So right now, Purdy, he wrote the ship the last few weeks. And this week, even in a tougher matchup, I still think he's a serviceable and a top 12 quarterback. 13, Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Lawrence finally had the breakout game last week with 36 fantasy points, with 4 total touchdowns and over 250 yards passing. So Calvin Ridley finally had a breakout game, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Trevor Lawrence, we know he's a quarterback that has talent. It was a number 1 pick for a reason a few seasons ago in the NFL draft. And last season even won a great playoff game after they were trailing 28-0 to the Chargers to come back and win. So right now, Trevor Lawrence, I think he could get back on track. The bye week usually helps offenses a lot, and we saw that last week with Tennessee coming to town. This week it's a tougher task, obviously, Houston, but after a good performance last week, Lawrence, I think, cracks the top 15, 14. Joshua Dobbs of the Minnesota Vikings. So Dobbs, he's been the talk of the NFL after getting traded to the Vikings a few weeks ago and not knowing the playbook and coming in after Hall got hurt and taking over and playing good football. So this week, a good matchup, Monday Night Football versus Chicago Bears, one of the worst teams in the league in terms of defense and giving up points. And we saw it last week where this bad team gave up 2 touchdowns in a 4-minute span to blow the ball game at the Detroit Lions. So this week here, Joshua Dobbs, I think he could have a good game versus Chicago team. We know he's good running the football. And for the remainder of the season, he's always in the start conversation and the 15th and final quarterback. I'm ranking Sam Howell of the Washington Commanders. So Sam Howell last week, it was a rough week, a lot of turnovers, obviously. Giants, they had his number early in the season as well in Week 7. And last week, he still put up 18 fantasy points, even though it was a bad game all around for Sam Howell. So this week, tough matchup, Thanksgiving at the Dallas Cowboys, one of the best defenses in the league. It's going to be tough sledding, but Sam Howell's a gunslinger. He goes out there and he throws that football up 25, 30 times at least. So this game in Dallas, where they're probably going to be trailing early and often, I think Howell, especially in garbage time, could put up some fantasy points. The 15th and final quarterback, so that's the top 15 quarterbacks I'm ranking for Week 12 of the fantasy football season.